The suit was 3 sizes too big, the fake beard itched like hell, and Rochelle Campbell was 99% sure the sock she'd stuffed in her boxers was migrating to a very unfortunate position. But none of that mattered because she had exactly 2 choices: marry a man who'd bought her like property, or run. She chose to run. Stuffed into her dead father's suit with a fake beard sliding off her face and her afro crammed under a baseball cap, she looked ridiculous. But when you're desperate, pride doesn't matter. So when that black Audi appeared at the curb with the engine running, she didn't think twice. She jumped in and begged the driver to go. Except the man behind the wheel wasn't some random stranger. He was Min Jun Kong, MJ to those who feared him, one of Chicago's most dangerous men. And the look in his dark eyes said Rochelle had just made either the best decision of her life, or her very last one. The question was, which? But before we get into this absolute chaos, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. Smash that like button if you're ready for a mafia romance that's going to have you screaming at your screen, and drop a comment telling me if you've ever made a split-second decision that changed your entire life. Turn on those notifications because you don't want to miss what happens when Rochelle realizes exactly who she's trapped in a car with. Now let's get into this story. The man in the driver's seat didn't look like a rideshare driver. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread titled, "Dangerously Rich Men Who Could Ruin Your Life." Sharp jawline, dark eyes that were currently assessing Rochelle with the warmth of a surgical knife, and black hair styled in that effortlessly perfect way that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He wore a black suit that fit him like it had been sewn onto his body, and his hands, resting calmly on the steering wheel, were decorated with rings that caught the streetlight. "No," he said simply, his voice accented but precise. "Please, I just need. Get out of my car." Rochelle's breath caught as she saw them through the rear window, her cousin Marcus and 2 of Victor's enforcers, scanning the street with predatory focus. In approximately 10 seconds, they'd spot her. "I have $300, she blurted, fumbling in her pocket. "It's all I have, but it's yours. Just drive around the block. Just 30 seconds. Please." The man's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, cataloging the 3 men with the practiced efficiency of someone who recognized danger when he saw it. Something shifted in his expression, not sympathy exactly, but interest. "You're running from them." "Yes." "Why? Does it matter?" His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "It does if I'm going to decide whether you're more trouble than you're worth." Marcus was 20 feet away now, moving closer. "They want to marry me off to some," Rochelle stopped herself. Even terrified, she knew better than to reveal too much to a stranger. "I don't want what they want. That's all you need to know." The man studied her for one more endless second. Then he reached across her, making her flinch, but he was only pulling the door shut. With smooth, unhurried movements, he shifted into drive and pulled into traffic. Rochelle's entire body sagged with relief. "Thank you. God. Thank you. Don't thank me yet." He navigated through the Chicago streets with the confidence of someone who owned them. "Take off the hat." "What?" "The disguise. It's terrible. I want to see who I'm helping." Rochelle hesitated, then pulled off the baseball cap. Her durag came with it, and her afro exploded outward, a halo of tight coils that had been compressed for hours. She heard the man's breath catch, just slightly. "Better," he murmured. "The beard too." She peeled off the fake facial hair, relieved to be rid of it. "Happy?" "Not the word I'd use." He glanced at her again, and this time his assessment was different. Slower. "You're not a man." Brilliant deduction. "And you're desperate enough to jump into a stranger's car." His accent curled around the words. Korean, she realized. That suggests your situation is either genuinely dangerous or you're dramatically overreacting. "The first one," Rochelle said flatly. "Definitely the first one." They'd put several blocks between her and Marcus now. The man pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a building that looked like it cost more per square foot than most people made in a year. "Why are we stopping?" "Because I don't conduct negotiations while driving." He killed the engine and turned to face her fully. "I'm Min Jun Kong. People call me MJ. You are? Rochelle Campbell. Rocky. She eyed the parking garage warily. What kind of negotiations? The kind where we establish what you need and what I might want in exchange for providing it. MJ's dark eyes were steady on hers. You need protection from whoever those men were. A place to hide. Money, probably. Yes? Every instinct Rochelle had screamed that this was another trap, another cage with prettier bars. But what choice did she have? Yes. What I want, MJ continued, leaning back in his seat with casual elegance, is information. You're running from an arranged marriage. To who? Rochelle's jaw tightened. Why would you care? Because I make it my business to know everyone operating in Chicago's less legal enterprises. An arranged marriage suggests connections to organized crime. Either African, Caribbean, or Eastern European based on your appearance. His head tilted. So. Who? Victor Osei. MJ's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Interesting. Continue. My uncle owes him money. A lot of it. Victor agreed to forgive the debt if I married him, some kind of status symbol or connection he wants. The words tasted bitter. The wedding's today. I ran. Smart woman. MJ pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Victor Osei runs half the contraband coming through O'Hare. Weapons, conflict diamonds, occasionally people. He's been trying to expand into territory that's already occupied. By you, Rochelle guessed. Very smart woman. MJ's smile was sharp enough to cut. Which makes you exponentially more interesting to me than you were 5 minutes ago. Rochelle's stomach sank. I'm not trading one owner for another. I'm not Victor Osei. I don't buy people. His voice carried an edge now. But I am a businessman, Rocky. You have something I want, access to Victor's operations, his plans, his weaknesses. In exchange, I can offer you what you actually need. Freedom. You don't know what I need. You're wearing your dead father's suit. MJ gestured at her ill-fitting outfit. The watch is a man's vintage piece, probably his as well. You have no bag, no cards, just $300 in cash that you were willing to give a stranger. Your family sold you to settle a debt, and you have nowhere to go. He leaned forward. I know exactly what you need. The question is whether you're brave enough to take it. Rochelle wanted to hate him for seeing through her so easily. Instead, she found herself fascinated by this man who looked at her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. What exactly are you proposing? Come upstairs. Eat something. We'll talk details. MJ opened his door with fluid grace. Or leave now, take your chances on the street, and see how long it takes Victor's people to find you. Your choice. He walked toward a private elevator without looking back, clearly confident she'd follow. Rochelle sat in the Audi for 30 seconds, warring with herself. Then she cursed under her breath and followed him. The penthouse occupied 3 floors of the building and had the kind of view that reminded you how small you were in the world. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Chicago's glittering skyline, and the interior was all sleek minimalism and expensive art. MJ shrugged off his suit jacket, revealing shoulder holsters with twin handguns that he removed with practiced ease, setting them on a side table like they were car keys. You always wear 2 guns? Rochelle asked. Only on Wednesdays. At her expression, he added, I'm joking. Yes, always. Would you like something to drink? Water? Something stronger? Water's fine. He moved to the kitchen, which was more like a professional-grade culinary installation, and returned with 2 bottles of sparkling water. Hungry? Rochelle's stomach growled in response. She hadn't eaten since yesterday, too nervous about the wedding to keep anything down. I'll take that as yes. MJ pulled out his phone again. Preferences? Whatever. I'm not picky. You're Jamaican, he said, still scrolling through his phone. I can hear it under the American accent. Your father was from Kingston? Rochelle stiffened. How do you? The watch is Jamaican made. There's a specific jeweler in Kingston who did that style of engraving on the back. I can see it from here. You touched it 3 times while we were talking, like a talisman. He glanced up. I notice things. It's how I stay alive in my business. And what business is that, exactly? Import-export. At her skeptical look, he smiled. What? It's technically true. I import goods that some people want and export problems that I don't. The fact that most of it is illegal is merely a technicality. You're a criminal. I prefer entrepreneur and alternative markets, but yes. MJ set his phone down. I've ordered from a Caribbean place in Bronzeville. Jerk chicken, rice and peas, plantains. Should be here in 30 minutes. In the meantime, you should shower. You're sweating through your father's suit, and those bindings, he gestured at her chest, look painful. Rochelle looked down and realized he was right. She'd bound herself with ace bandages to flatten her curves, and between the compression and the fierce sweat, she was a mess. Guest bathroom is through there. My sister keeps clothes here, you look about her size. MJ settled onto a leather couch with his water. Go. We'll talk after you're more comfortable. It was a dismissal, casual but absolute. Rochelle wanted to argue but couldn't find the energy. Instead, she headed for the bathroom he'd indicated. The shower was magnificent, all rainfall heads and heated tiles, and Rochelle stood under the spray until she felt almost human again. The bindings had left angry red marks across her ribs and breasts. She'd wrapped herself too tight in her panic, and now she was paying for it. The clothes MJ mentioned were in a closet that held an entire wardrobe, designer athleisure, casual wear, even formal dresses. His sister had excellent taste and, as he'd guessed, a similar build to Rochelle. She chose black leggings and an oversized sweater, then used the provided lotion on her compressed afro until the coils began to reform their natural pattern. When she emerged, the food had arrived. MJ had set it out on a dining table that could seat 12 but currently held just 2 place settings at one end. Better? He asked. Much. Rochelle sat, eyeing the spread. It looked authentic. The jerk chicken had that char and spice that came from proper preparation, the rice and peas were cooked perfectly, and the plantains were golden and caramelized. How did you know where to order from? I make it my business to know the best of everything in Chicago. Food, art, weapons dealers. He served himself with neat, efficient movements. Eat. You'll think more clearly with food in you. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The food was excellent, and Rochelle hadn't realized how hungry she was until she started eating. MJ watched her with that same analytical interest, like he was cataloging every reaction. Tell me about Victor, he said finally. How did he choose you? Rochelle set down her fork. My uncle, my mom's brother, he runs a small operation. Numbers, some loan sharking, nothing major. He borrowed from Victor to expand, couldn't pay back. Victor came to collect and saw me at a family dinner. She fought to keep her voice steady. Decided I was worth $80,000 in debt forgiveness. And your family agreed. My uncle signed the contract before I even knew about it. My mom. Rochelle's throat tightened. My mom didn't fight hard enough. Said it was a good match, that Victor would take care of me. Okay, can we just pause for a second? Rocky's own family sold her, and now she's sitting in a mafia boss's penthouse trying to figure out if he's her savior or just another prison. If you're as invested in this story as I am, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you think Rocky can trust MJ or if she should run while she still can. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is about to get so much more intense. Okay, back to the story because you need to hear what MJ proposes next. MJ's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. Take care of you. Interesting euphemism for ownership. You said you don't buy people, Rochelle said carefully. But you're asking me to spy on Victor. To go back to him and gather information for you. How is that different? Because when this is over, you walk away free. No debt. No obligation. Just your life, yours to do with as you please. MJ leaned forward, elbows on the table. I won't lie to you, Rocky. What I'm proposing is dangerous. Victor is paranoid, violent, and smart. If he catches you, he'll kill me. Eventually. After making an example of you first. MJ's bluntness was almost refreshing. But I'm very good at what I do. You'll have protection, resources, and an exit strategy. More than you have now. Why me? You could find someone else, plant someone in his organization. Because you have legitimate access. You're supposed to be his wife. He'll trust you, or at least trust you more than he'd trust anyone else. MJ pushed his plate aside. And because you want him destroyed as much as I do. That kind of motivation is worth more than any amount of training. He wasn't wrong. Rochelle did want Victor destroyed. Wanted him to suffer for thinking he could buy her, for the way he'd looked at her like property, for the future he'd tried to steal. If I do this, she said slowly, I want guarantees. Real ones. Name them. My mother gets protection. She didn't fight for me, but she's still my mom. She doesn't deserve whatever Victor will do when he realizes I'm working against him. MJ nodded. Done. What else? When this is over, when Victor is gone, I want money. Enough to start over somewhere new. Somewhere none of you can find me. How much? Rochelle named a figure that seemed astronomical, $200,000. Enough to disappear completely, to build a new life from scratch. MJ didn't even blink. Done. Anything else? If things go wrong, if Victor catches on, you get me out immediately. No waiting to gather more information, no sacrificing me for the bigger picture. The second I say I'm compromised, you extract me. Agreed. MJ extended his hand across the table. Do we have a deal? Rochelle stared at his hand, elegant, ring-covered, connected to a man who was either her salvation or her damnation. Then she reached out and shook it. His grip was warm, firm, steady. We have a deal, she said. MJ didn't waste time. Within an hour, he'd set her up with a burner phone, a panic button disguised as a pendant, and a crash course in information gathering that made Rochelle's head spin. Victor will be angry that you ran, MJ explained, pacing his living room like a caged panther. You need a story that satisfies his ego without making him suspicious. I'll tell him I panicked. That the reality of marriage scared me and I needed to clear my head. Weak. He'll see through it. MJ shook his head. Better, you ran because you heard rumors that he only wanted you to humiliate your uncle. That you were testing whether he'd come after you or let you go. When he finds you, you apologize and say you know now that he really wants you. It was manipulative and clever. You're good at this. I've been playing these games since I was 16. Something dark crossed MJ's face. My father ran the organization before me. He taught me that in this world, you're either the player or the piece. I decided very young which I wanted to be. And which am I? In this scenario? MJ stopped pacing and looked at her directly. Right now? You're a piece. My piece on Victor's board. But if you're smart, and I think you are, you'll learn enough from this to become a player yourself. The honesty was brutal but not unkind. Rochelle appreciated it more than false reassurance. They spent the next several hours going over details. MJ showed her what kind of information he needed, supplier contacts, shipping schedules, financial records, names of corrupt officials in Victor's pocket. He taught her how to take photos without being obvious, how to memorize conversations, how to lie convincingly even under pressure. You're a natural, he said after she successfully deflected his third interrogation scenario. Most people crack by now. I've had practice. Rochelle thought of all the times she'd had to smile through her uncle's business dinners, pretending not to hear the illegal deals being made around her grandmother's dining table. You learn to perform when survival depends on it. Yes, MJ said quietly. You do. There was weight in those words, a shared understanding of what it meant to smile while screaming inside. For a moment, the space between them felt charged with something other than business. Then MJ's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression shuddered. Your cousin is putting out word that you're missing. offering a reward for information leading to your return. How much? $5,000. Rochelle laughed bitterly. I'm worth $80,000 in debt forgiveness but only $5,000 in recovery. Good to know my market value. You're worth considerably more than that. MJ's voice was soft but intense. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise. Their eyes met and held. Rochelle's breath caught at the way he was looking at her, not like property or a chess piece, but like a person. A woman. Someone worth more than any price tag. She broke the gaze first, unsettled. So what's the plan? How do I let them find me? MJ settled back into business mode. You don't. You go back to them. Tomorrow morning, you call your mother from a disposable phone. Tell her you're sorry, you're ready to go through with the wedding, and you'll meet her at your uncle's house to discuss rescheduling. They'll be furious. Let them be. You're giving them what they want, you, compliant and ready to marry Victor. He'll posture, maybe threaten, but ultimately he'll be satisfied. Men like him care more about winning than about punishment. You sound like you know him well. I know his type. MJ's expression was unreadable. I used to be it. Rochelle wanted to ask what changed him, what transformed him from that type into whatever he was now. But his body language said the conversation was closed. You should sleep, MJ said, standing. Guest room is on the second floor, first door on the right. Everything you need should be there. Where will you be? Working. I have calls to make, arrangements to put in place. He paused at the base of the stairs. Rocky? Tomorrow, when you walk back into that house, remember, you're not helpless anymore. You're gathering information that will destroy a man who thought he could own you. That's power. Use it. Rochelle barely slept. When she did, she dreamed of cages with golden bars and faceless men who smiled while they locked the doors. She woke before dawn, her heart racing. MJ was already awake, dressed in another perfect suit, drinking coffee in the kitchen. He looked up when she appeared. Couldn't sleep? Not really. He poured her a cup without asking, preparing it black the way she'd had it at dinner. Observant. Always observing. Second thoughts, he asked. Third and fourth ones too. Rochelle wrapped her hands around the warm mug. But I'm still doing it. Good. He studied her over the rim of his own cup. I had my people do some digging overnight. Victor's been accelerating his timeline. He wants the marriage completed within the week now. He's using it to negotiate with an arms dealer out of Miami. Proving he's stable, family-oriented. Ironic, using a forced marriage to prove stability. Our world runs on irony and hypocrisy. MJ set down his cup. It also means you don't have much time. Once you're back, I need information fast. Particularly about his Miami connection. That's the weak point where I can apply pressure. Rochelle nodded, her stomach tight with anxiety. Rocky. MJ moved closer, and she caught his scent, expensive cologne and something crisp, clean. You can still walk away. I'll give you money, help you disappear. You don't owe me anything. It was tempting. So tempting. But Rochelle thought about Victor's smug face, her uncle's casual betrayal, her mother's weak protests that had meant nothing. She thought about every woman who'd been traded like commodity, every person who'd been told their life wasn't their own. No, she said firmly. I'm seeing this through. Something that might have been admiration flickered in MJ's eyes. Then let's make sure you're ready. He spent the next hour reviewing her cover story again, testing her responses, making sure she could maintain her composure under stress. Then he handed her a small box. Inside was a delicate necklace, a pendant that looked like a simple gold teardrop. It's beautiful, Rochelle said. It's also a GPS tracker and panic button. Press the top for 3 seconds, and my people will know you're in trouble. We'll come for you immediately. MJ's expression was serious. I meant what I said. The second you're compromised, we extract you. Rochelle fastened the necklace around her neck. The pendant settled just below her collarbone, warm against her skin. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. MJ checked his watch. It's time. My driver will take you within a few blocks of your uncle's house. From there, you walk in on your own. The reality of it hit her all at once. In less than an hour, she'd be walking back into the cage she'd escaped. But this time, she wouldn't be helpless. This time, she was the snake in the garden. MJ, she said as they headed for the elevator. Yes? Why are you really doing this? There has to be more than just business. He was quiet for a long moment. The elevator descended smoothly, carrying them toward the parking garage. My sister, he said finally. She was engaged to a man my father chose. A strategic marriage to solidify an alliance. She was 19 and terrified, but she didn't run. She trusted our father to protect her. His jaw tightened. The man she married put her in the hospital 3 times in 2 years. When I finally got her out, she could barely speak without flinching. Rochelle's chest ached. I'm sorry. She's safe now. In California, new identity, doing art therapy or something similarly peaceful. But I was too late to save her from that marriage. MJ looked at her, and his eyes were full of carefully controlled fury. So when I see someone else in that position, I don't let them go through what she did. Not if I can help it. The elevator doors opened. MJ's driver was waiting with a different car, a nondescript sedan that wouldn't draw attention. Be smart, MJ said. Be careful. And remember, you're not alone in this. Rochelle nodded, not trusting her voice. Then she got in the car and let it carry her back toward everything she'd tried to escape. Her uncle's house looked exactly as she'd left it, a modest brick 2-story in Chatham that tried to look respectable despite housing a criminal enterprise. Rochelle stood on the sidewalk for a full minute, gathering her courage. Then she walked up the steps and knocked. Her cousin Marcus opened the door. His expression went from surprise to fury in half a second. You got some nerve, he started, but Rochelle's mother appeared behind him. Baby. Oh, thank God. Her mother pushed past Marcus and pulled Rochelle into a crushing hug. Where were you? We were so worried. The lie was so sincere sounding that Rochelle almost believed it herself. She let her mother hold her, playing the role of the prodigal daughter. I'm sorry, Mama. I got scared. I just needed some time to think. Time to think? Marcus's voice was sharp. Do you know how much trouble you caused? Victor was ready to. Marcus. A new voice cut through his rant. Rochelle's Uncle Raymond appeared in the hallway, his expression unreadable. Let her in. We need to talk. They ushered her into the living room where she'd had Sunday dinners as a child. Now it felt like a courtroom. Her mother sat close, holding her hand. Marcus loomed near the door like a guard. Raymond settled into his armchair, the throne from which he ran his small empire. Victor is on his way, Raymond said without preamble. You're going to apologize. You're going to convince him that you're ready to be a good wife. And then we're going to reschedule this wedding for 3 days from now. Understood? Yes, Uncle Raymond. I don't know what got into you, Rochelle. Running off like some foolish child. Her mother's grip on her hand tightened. Victor is a good man. He's going to take care of you. The urge to laugh was almost overwhelming. Victor Osei was many things, but good wasn't one of them. I know, Mama. I heard people talking. Saying that Victor only wanted to marry me to embarrass you, Uncle Raymond. That it was about power, not about actually wanting me. She delivered the line just as MJ coached her, with the right mix of uncertainty and hurt. Raymond's expression darkened. Who told you that? Some girls at the salon. They were laughing about it, saying I was being used. It was a believable lie. Raymond's ego was legendary, and the suggestion that people were mocking him would sting. Those bitches don't know anything, Marcus muttered. They don't, Raymond agreed. Victor wants you, Rochelle. He's been very clear about that. This marriage is good for everyone. He gets a beautiful wife, we clear our debt, and you get security. Simple. Nothing about this was simple, but Rochelle nodded. The front door opened without a knock. Victor Osei walked in like he owned the place, which, given Raymond's debt, he essentially did. He was 52, handsome in a brutal way, with graying hair and eyes that catalogued everything like inventory. He wore an expensive suit and carried himself with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. Those eyes landed on Rochelle and turned cold. "So," he said softly. "The bride returns." Rochelle stood, keeping her eyes downcast in what she hoped looked like shame. "Mr. Osei. I'm so sorry." "Not here." Victor's voice was silk over steel. "Raymond, I need to speak with my fiancé." "Privately." Her uncle nodded immediately. "Use the study." Victor gestured for Rochelle to precede him. She walked down the hall to her uncle's study, feeling Victor's presence behind her like a predator stalking prey. He closed the door with a quiet click. "Look at me." Rochelle raised her eyes. Victor studied her face with unsettling intensity. "You made me look foolish," he said. "In front of people whose respect I need. People who are now questioning whether I can control my own household. Do you understand how that reflects on me? I'm sorry. I was confused and scared. I don't care about your feelings." Victor moved closer, not touching her but invading her space. "I care about appearances. I care about respect. You damaged both when you ran." Rochelle forced herself not to step back. "It won't happen again." "No. It won't. Because I'm going to explain something to you, Rochelle." His voice dropped lower. "You're mine now. Whether you wear a ring yet or not, you belong to me. If you run again, I won't come after you. I'll go after your mother. Your little cousins. Everyone you care about. And I'll make sure you know exactly what I'm doing to them. Are we clear?" Terror crystallized in Rochelle's gut, but she nodded. "Yes." "Good." Victor stepped back, his expression smoothing into something almost pleasant. "Then we understand each other. The wedding is Saturday. You'll stay here where Raymond can watch you until then. After we're married, you'll move into my house and learn what being my wife means." He said it like a threat and a promise. "I understand," Rochelle whispered. Victor studied her a moment longer, then opened the door. "She's ready to behave. We'll do the ceremony Saturday evening. I'll send someone with details." He left without another word. Rochelle stood in the study, shaking, her hand pressed against the pendant hidden beneath her shirt. She wanted to press it, to summon MJ and end this nightmare now. But she thought of MJ's sister. Of every woman who'd been trapped like this. Of the chance to actually destroy Victor instead of just escaping him. She took a deep breath and walked back into the living room to accept her family's relieved congratulations that she'd come to her senses. The next 3 days were a special kind of hell. Rochelle was watched constantly, her mother and various cousins taking shifts to ensure she didn't run again. She was taken to dress fittings, to the venue for a final walkthrough, to a jeweler where Victor presented her with an engagement ring that felt like a shackle. But she was also listening. Watching. Gathering. Victor visited daily, each time spending time alone with her uncle in the study. Rochelle made herself useful, bringing them drinks, playing the role of the obedient future wife. They grew comfortable with her presence, started talking more freely. That's how she learned about the Miami connection, a weapons dealer named Santos who was arriving Friday night to finalize a deal. Arms in exchange for Victor's distribution network in the Midwest. She learned about the shipment coming through O'Hare on Sunday, carefully packed in medical supply containers. She learned about the politicians Victor owned, the cops on his payroll, the money laundering operation running through his chain of check cashing stores. Each night, locked in her childhood bedroom with her cousin sleeping on the couch downstairs, she'd text the information to MJ's burner number. His responses were brief but encouraging. "Good work. Keep going. That's the connection I needed. You're brilliant. 2 more days. Stay strong." The night before the wedding, Rochelle lay awake staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow she'd put on a white dress and promise herself to a monster. Even knowing it was temporary, even knowing MJ had a plan, the weight of it pressed on her chest until she could barely breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from MJ, can't sleep? She typed back, how did you know? Because I can't either. Knowing what you're walking into tomorrow. Tell me it's going to work. That I'm not doing this for nothing. There was a pause. Then, it's going to work. Santos arrives tomorrow night, we're intercepting him. By Sunday, Victor's entire operation will be falling apart. You just need to make it through one day. One day, she texted back. Rocky? Yes? You're the bravest person I've ever met. Rochelle stared at those words until they blurred. Then she texted, or the stupidest. Those often look the same from the outside. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, you end this. She fell asleep with the phone in her hand and MJ's words echoing in her mind. The wedding was scheduled for 7 p.m. in a hotel ballroom Victor had rented. Rochelle went through the preparations in a daze. Hair, makeup, the dress that had cost more than her mother's monthly rent. Her afro was styled into an elegant updo that she actually liked, which somehow made everything worse. She looked beautiful. Like a bride. Like someone who might actually be happy about this. The pendant with the panic button was hidden beneath her dress, warm against her skin. Her only lifeline. At 6:45, there was a knock on the bridal suite door. Her mother answered it, and Rochelle heard Victor's voice. I need a moment with my bride. Her mother ushered him in, then left with a meaningful look at Rochelle. The door closed. Victor looked impeccable in his tuxedo. He studied Rochelle with an expression she couldn't read. You're exquisite, he said finally. I knew you would be. Thank you. He crossed to her, moving with that predatory grace that made her skin crawl. I want you to understand something, Rochelle. I'm not a patient man. But I've been patient with you because I see potential. You're smart. Beautiful. From a good family. You could be an asset to me if you choose to be. I understand. Do you? His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheek. Because there's still something in your eyes. Something defiant. I need to know that's gone. Rochelle forced herself to meet his gaze, to let him see what he wanted to see. I was raised to honor my commitments. Whatever I felt before, I'm here now. I'm ready. Victor studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Good. Because after tonight, you'll have responsibilities. I'll need you to help me with certain aspects of my business. Managing the books for the check-cashing stores. Entertaining business associates. Being my eyes and ears in places a man can't be. He wanted her involved. Wanted her deep in his operation where she'd be complicit, bound to him not just by marriage but by crime. Perfect. I'll do whatever you need, Rochelle said softly. I know you will. Victor leaned in and kissed her, possessive, claiming, revolting. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with satisfaction. I'll see you at the altar, Mrs. Osei. He left. Rochelle stood there for a moment, her hand pressed to her mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Then her phone buzzed. A text from MJ, Santos is in custody. His entire crew rolled on Victor. Federal warrants being issued now. Hold on just a little longer. Rochelle's hands shook as she typed back, how much longer? They're moving now. 20 minutes, maybe less. Can you stall? She could try. She texted, I'll do my best. The wedding coordinator appeared at the door. Miss Campbell? It's time. Rochelle took a deep breath, touched the panic button pendant one more time for luck, and walked toward the ballroom. The space was elegant, filled with people she didn't know, Victor's associates and clients, there to witness his victory. Her family sat in the front row, her mother dabbing at tears that might have been real or performed. Victor stood at the altar with the officiant, looking pleased with himself. Rochelle walked down the aisle slowly. Very slowly. Drawing out each step. She reached the altar. Victor took her hand, his grip tight. The officiant began. Dearly beloved. Rochelle barely heard the words. She was counting seconds, calculating minutes. Where were the police? Where was MJ? If anyone has objections to this union, speak now or... The ballroom doors burst open. Federal agents flooded in, weapons drawn, voices overlapping in a chorus of FBI. Nobody move. The chaos was immediate and absolute. Guests screamed. Victor's guards reached for weapons but were tackled before they could draw. And Victor himself stood frozen, his hands still gripping Rochelle's, as an agent approached. Victor Osei, you're under arrest for weapons trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. Victor's eyes snapped to Rochelle. Understanding and fury dawned in them simultaneously. You, he hissed. You did this. Get down on the ground. Now. The agents surrounded him. Victor lunged for Rochelle, murder in his eyes, but he never reached her. Someone stepped between them, MJ, appearing out of nowhere, moving with liquid grace to intercept Victor's attack. He didn't punch him, just deflected Victor's momentum and let the federal agents tackle him to the ground. Then MJ turned to Rochelle, and his eyes were blazing with something fierce and protective. You good? He asked. Rochelle was shaking so hard she could barely stand, but she nodded. I'm good. Then let's get you out of here. He shrugged off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders, shielding her from the cameras that were already starting to flash. I've got you. He guided her through the chaos, past her shocked family and Victor's raging protests, out into the cool Chicago night. A car was waiting, his Audi, the same one she'd jumped into what felt like a lifetime ago. This time, when she got in, she was choosing it. Choosing him. Choosing freedom. MJ slid into the driver's seat and pulled smoothly into traffic, leaving the chaos behind. That was closer than I'd like, he said after a moment. I'm sorry. Santos's people took longer to break than anticipated. But they broke. Completely. Victor's entire operation is compromised. His people are already flipping on each other trying to negotiate deals. By this time tomorrow, half of them will be in custody. MJ glanced at her. It's over, Rocky. You're free. Free. The word felt foreign and perfect. My family will be questioned but not charged. Your uncle will probably face some consequences for his own operation, but nothing connected to you. MJ's voice softened. Your mother will be fine. I've already arranged for her to relocate if she wants. Clean start. Thank you. They drove in silence for a while. Rochelle still wore the wedding dress, but it felt different now. Not like a cage but like a costume she was ready to shed. Where are we going? She asked. Where do you want to go? The question was simple but profound. For the first time in her life, the answer was entirely up to her. Your place, she said. For tonight, at least. Tomorrow I'll start figuring out what comes next. MJ nodded and adjusted their route. 4 months later, Rochelle sat in a coffee shop in Lincoln Park, reviewing financial reports on her laptop. MJ's organization might be criminal, but their books were incredibly complex and needed someone with a sharp eye for detail. Turned out, she had exactly that. After Victor's arrest, she'd stayed with MJ while figuring out her next move. He'd offered her the promised money, enough to disappear and start over. But somewhere between the debriefings and the quiet dinners and the late-night conversations where they traded pieces of their histories, she'd realized she didn't want to disappear. She wanted to stay. With him. You're going to go cross